All right. Hello, everyone. English 102 folks. I want to take a little bit of time to address growing concern in academia and beyond, right? This idea of AI, ChatGPT, and things like that. Um, and I've seen the usage, as I think a lot of other people have, really skyrocket or increase in classes since it was released several years ago. So, what I want to do is have kind of an open, honest discussion about AI. And throughout this, I'll refer to ChatGPT, but I really just mean any form of AI, whether that's Claude or Gemini or what have you, right? And so I assume that most of you are familiar with this. Maybe it's playing around with it. Maybe you've used it for an assignment. Maybe you've had an instructor encourage you or require you to use this technology in the past. But I want to talk about for a class like English 102, um, like why we might use it, how we could use it, and really make the argument not to use it, but not simply based on a knee-jerk reaction, but based on kind of my logic. So I want to walk you through why I'm asking you not to use AI this quarter and some sort of narrow exceptions. So bear with me. I know it's probably not the most exciting video in the world, but I want to talk through uh, this just so we're all kind of on the same page, or at least you know where I'm coming from. So MIT did an analysis of people. So they monitored brain patterns of people using AI and not using AI, right? And I don't think this is probably a surprise. I'm not going to read the whole quote here, but it says brain connectivity systematically scaled down with the amount of external support. That is, when people were using AI, their actual brain activity decreased, right? The brain only group exhibited the strongest, widest ranging network. So that's what they did basically is they took groups of people and they allowed some people to do a task with AI and some people were doing the task without AI. The people who did the task with AI had less brain activity, so their brain was not working as much. Now, why is that important? Well, the brain is needs exercise just like the rest of our body. And when we're not exercising it, then we lose some of those cognitive abilities. I'm not a psychologist, but I think that there could be a clear argument here, right? Now, when we look at students using it in the classroom, because I know some students don't use it, some students are very morally opposed to it, but I know a lot of students are using it, partially because it's built into almost everything that we're using, whether that's a search engine or Google Docs or Microsoft Word. So Forbes did a survey and they said that they surveyed more than 1,100 US students across 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, graduate programs. And the report found that 90% of students had used AI academically, with nearly 3/4 saying their usage increased over the past year. So, this is to say, let's speak honestly about this, in that maybe students say they're not using it, but I think a lot of instructors are keenly aware that students are using it. We can tell the degree to which we talk to students or call students out on it. It has a lot to do with different variables, right? A part of this is not that an AI checker will solve everything, but usually before I even run an AI checker, I have some red flags or suspicions that somebody might be using AI. And keep in mind that if you're using AI, then you're missing out on that opportunity to learn, which is what you're here for, right? So how are students using it, right? So students use it to brainstorm ideas, create outlines, write drafts, summarize information, revise, create responses to discussion posts, and respond to quizzes. And I know that students are doing this. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's less obvious. Even though AI is getting better, right? I don't think it is the best tool, and really we can't learn this way, right? We're not expanding our learning if we're always going to some technology to outsource this. So brainstorming ideas, creating drafts, writing drafts, summarizing information, those are all things that you're not allowed to use AI for in this class, in addition to creating responses to discussion posts or responding to quizzes. We'll talk more about discussion posts, but discussion posts are not looking for specific answers. I'm not grading you based on your grammar, mechanics, punctuation. It's really a place for you to engage with the material. And the same thing is true with the quizzes. The quizzes are open note, open book, no time limit. So there's really no reason to offload that learning opportunity to AI. Now, when students have used AI in the past, I've found that this is actually true. So this is from a recent book, Teaching with AI, that came out in 2024. And they said that at best, AI produces a sort of C paper. And there are a number of reasons for this, right? It really isn't the best. Now, some students maybe have gotten away, even in my classes, with turning in papers that are AI generated and maybe have a B or an A. Maybe you know these students. I think that they're few and far between. And a lot of what I've been doing recently is rethinking how I teach in order to make sure that I'm teaching you, not just in order to prevent you from using AI, but really to leverage this as an opportunity to teach better and help you all engage with the text. Now, when students talk about the use of AI, right, it's easier, it saves time, it's better than maybe what a student might have written, and it'll be used in the future. These are all sort of justifications that students have. And I don't disagree with these. I don't always think that number three is true. I don't think that AI is always going to be better than something you could have written by yourself. But that kind of leads into the downsides from my perspective as an instructor, that we're missing out on an opportunity to develop critical thinking skills, which are one of the major soft skills that students need going into the workforce in this century. Decreased communication skills, again, our ability to communicate effectively is not just text-based, but it's also when we're talking to people, and the two go hand in hand, right? And then also a lack of comprehension and long-term absorption of knowledge, right? And so, and again, in full transparency, and I'm happy to have a further discussion about AI use with anybody in the class that's interested. And what I sort of early on developed is this sort of theory that students are using what I call a calculator defense. And they'll say, well, using AI is really just like using a calculator. It's a tool. But the difference is a calculator requires you to already have some basic understanding of what you're putting into it, right? If you have a calculator and I ask you to find the inverse sine of an angle, unless you know what that means, you can't really do it, right? You can do basic things, 2 + 2 or 5 × 5, but ChatGPT or AI doesn't require that you know how to write a paragraph or conduct research, which are the things that we're working on, okay? So my policy on ChatGPT is that I view it the same as plagiarism, with the knowledge that AI is all around us, right? But plagiarism, by definition, is taking somebody else's words or ideas and presenting them as your own. And even though the AI is not a person, we're taking ideas and words from something else and using it as our own, which to me also falls under that umbrella of plagiarism, which is something that's in the student conduct manual, and you can look at it. And if you weren't aware that there was a student conduct manual, there is. So again, kind of an additional thought here. I don't think that AI is inherently bad. I think that there are some positive ways that we can use AI. However, this is a foundational composition course, right? The course is here to teach you how to write, read, research, right? If we're not practicing that, we're not going to be able to learn it. And if you have the foundation, then in the future, when you need to do something and maybe it's a time crunch or maybe your job requires it, then you can leverage AI even further. But you need to create that base before you leap to using that technology. All right, so last little bit here, right? So and it says English 101 here. It's the same for English 102. AI is permitted only for checking grammar and spelling. There's a full list and explanation of what you can use AI for and what you can't in the syllabus. Please take a look at that and let me know if you have any questions. Now, as you're maybe using AI to check grammar or spelling, punctuation, note that you should be avoiding any time where it's rewording a sentence for you or changing the wording. I want your authentic voice to come through because that's what's going to give you an advantage. That's what's going to make you sound different. AI sounds the same every single time, and that's one way that instructors start to get suspicious that students are using AI. Your voice is the thing that is like your personality, and you don't want to be like the bland same personality as everyone else, right? So at the end of every written assignment, not discussion boards or quizzes, you're going to include an AI statement. So the AI statement is a single sentence or two at the end of your written assignment that says whether or not you used AI and what you used it for. So you're going to explain whether you used AI, why you used it, and how you used it. Right? So for example, if you didn't use AI at all, you just say, I did not use any AI, including Grammarly. If you use it for grammar and spelling, which is permitted, you could say, I used Grammarly to check my grammar and spelling because I'm not the best speller, whatever. If you're using it for revision or anything else, you need to really explain to me what you used it for and be aware that I may ask you to tell me, show me what prompt you gave AI and what it gave you and how you changed your work in response. I'm always very careful when it comes to having conversations with students about their own AI use because I don't want it to be penalty, right? It's not, nobody's in trouble, but I need to make sure that we can avoid using AI in the future. And it begins with this video and the AI statements, but right, benefit of the doubt. However, I may ask you to document or show things in the future. So I'm going to skip over this, right? So there are some assignments, and I've noted it clearly several places, usually at least one of those places is in bold, where it will say you're not allowed to use any form of AI. That means including spelling and grammar check. And because of that, there is either no part of the rubric that's related to spelling and grammar, or really the points are kind of free points as long as you've done your best and there are no big glaring errors, right? Additionally, you are not allowed to use any form of AI, including Grammarly or spell check or whatnot, for discussion boards or quizzes. If you just write directly into those places and you ignore the red squigglies and whatever, that is the best way to do this. I expect to see errors in grammar, spelling, punctuation. I've written for a very long time now, and I still make mistakes in writing, sometimes just because I'm typing too fast or whatnot, but it does happen. Okay, so that's it. If you have any questions about AI use, please let me know. It's an increasingly large part of how I teach is to take into consideration AI and to really create a policy of no AI for generation, creation, or revision, unless we're having a transparent conversation about it, because I think that you're here to learn, right? That's why you're paying the money and taking the time to be here. So there you go. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you. If you have questions, comments, concerns, jokes, memes, or recipes, please let me know. Otherwise, I will talk to you all in the future.